This is Jason Nicholas Major for Truth, Justice, and Mysterious Ways, a podcast series written, created, and produced by Jason Nicholas Major. Previously on Truth, Justice, and Mysterious Ways, well, you can watch the YouTube channel, you can watch the Biblical Cinematic YouTube channel, and watch part 1, and then after that, because it's only a few minutes long, watch part 2. It's brilliant, and it will let you know where we are in the story. Chapter 3, Mild-Mannered. 2 weeks passed and September started again. It was the week after Labor Day weekend. Pastor Joseph Reeves' church was in Windsor, Ontario, in Canada. It was one of the bigger churches in the city, and it was called Bethel Calvary Church, a Pentecostal church. They were located near the highway at Temple Drive off Central Road. Their church attendance was around 1,000 people. He had a staff of about 30 people. Pastor Joseph had just hired a new youth pastor to help him with the administration of the church. Walking off the bus which had dropped him off at the corner, Chris Donner straightened up his tie. Pastor Joseph first met Chris as part of an internship with Tyndale University at his church. Chris had his master's degree from Tyndale, and today would be his first official day as youth pastor at the church. Chris was a young man of 26 with dark brown hair and blue eyes. He wore glasses that were mostly for reading. He had his driver's license, but on a graduate student's salary, couldn't afford his own car, so he took Windsor Transit. He was carrying a briefcase with his laptop computer. Chris was a good-hearted, kind young man, whose only fault was his somewhat low self-esteem of himself. He looked at the time. It was 9:15 a.m. He was to be at the church at 9:30 a.m., so he was going to be on time, but his original goal was to be much earlier. He was glad he had given himself the extra time to make sure he was on time using the transit. Chris had never met Margot, as she lived in Stratford to study theater last year. When she had come home for Christmas, Chris had been away in Alberta visiting his own family. She had only moved back home in the summer. He knew what she looked like through her pictures in her father's office. What he heard about her made him think that she was the kind of girl that he would like to get to know. He had seen videos of her leading the worship choir at the church. He had thought that not only she had a wonderful voice and looked beautiful, but there was something about how she carried herself when she was on stage. Chris knew that he was called to ministry ever since he had the face-to-face encounter with Jesus at 12 years old. Jesus had come to him in a vision when he was out in his father's cornfield in Alberta, that he was called to be a pastor. He had hoped that some of his small-town values for community and relationship would help the growing church. He had grown up finding bigger churches too cold for his taste. He had served as a youth pastor at a small church in the North York area of Toronto, close to his college, while he was doing his bachelor and master's degree. Then he had recently done a 6-month internship at Bethel in Windsor. While he enjoyed helping the church in Toronto, the big city had just felt too much for him. Maybe being in Windsor, which was a more moderate-sized city, why it was the best of both worlds. Windsor being on the border of the Windsor and Detroit border of Michigan and Ontario in Canada. His father had been a manager of a small grocery store in the small town of High River in Alberta. His parents had both passed away. His father died first of a heart attack when he was in his second year of college. A year later, his mother had passed away after a battle with cancer. He missed his parents and had tried to find a new life by going back to Toronto for his master's degree at Tyndale, then pursued pastoral ministry. Chris arrived at the church and looked for Pastor Joseph and wondered what his first official day at work might be like. He assumed there would probably be a lot of introductions. He's excited to be given the role of senior high youth pastor at the church after being an assistant to the previous youth pastor as part of his internship with Tyndale. The secretary, Ann Batson, a lady in her mid-50s, told him that Pastor Joseph was running late. Chris told her that he would wait for him in the sanctuary. The sanctuary was a large room with a balcony and detachable chairs instead of pews, and it had modern architecture, as their church was a modern Pentecostal church. He walked up to the front row and then walked up to the podium, which was used for sermons. He stepped on the stage and stood behind the podium imagining himself speaking before the crowd. Well, it looks like here goes everything. God, I hope you're there, he prayed. I think I need you more than ever. I'm excited for this opportunity, but, well, I hope that at the end of the day, well, geez, well, I want my life to matter. My father taught me that it was put on this earth for a reason. Da, 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 da. I want to make a difference, God. I'm excited, but if I'm honest, I'm also scared. He looked up the ceiling, continuing to talk to God. I need you. This is such a bizarre feeling, being in a completely different city. Do you know what I'm saying? Anyways, thank you, and amen. Chris allowed himself to sit down in the front row. The quiet sound of contemporary worship music was on the speakers. He allowed himself the time to soak in its presence as he waited for the pastor. He closed his eyes, allowing himself to feel at rest and enjoy the music at the same time. As he prayerfully meditated, he suddenly heard a voice. Chris, the voice said, sounding soft but distant. Chris kept his eyes shut, wondering if he had just hearing his own thoughts or he was hearing something supernatural. God? Is that you? He asked. Chris, the voice said again, and Chris felt a hand on his shoulder. I'm here, God. I feel your hand on my shoulder. Wow, it's pretty powerful. Chris almost wanted to cry. Well, son, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but it's just me. Chris opened his eyes to see Pastor Joseph Reed behind him, a man in his early 50s with curly brown hair. He was wearing casual dress pants and a dark blue dress shirt. Chris laughed, and the two men hugged each other. Good to see you again. Oh, sir, my apologies. I guess I was just lost in prayer. Chris straightened at his jacket and his glasses. No worries, I would have let you be, but I have to go pick up my daughter at the airport. I was wondering if you'd like to join me. Would I? Now, gee whiz, that'd be swell. I'd be honored, Chris answered, straightening his glasses. Great, let's get going. Joseph patted him on the back, and they began walking towards the exit, and Joseph followed him. And Chris followed him. And so, are you all unpacked now? Last time we talked, you said you found a place downtown. Well, yes, sir. I found a cheap apartment downtown. It's nice and clean, too. I've heard that bedbugs have a nasty habit of being quite a nuisance in Windsor. It feels nice to finally have my own space. Chris ran ahead of Joseph and opened the door to the church for him. Here you go. Thanks, Chris. He looked at Chris in his dressed-up outfit. You know you don't have to dress up so formally every day, right? It's okay if you want to wear a nice pair of blue jeans or a shirt, especially in this heat. Chris followed him as he walked towards Joseph's car. Oh, yeah, I know. It's just that it's my first day and I just wanted to make a good impression. You did a great job when you were with us last semester. Remember, this is a calling. We believe that God sent you here for a reason. You really mean that, sir? Chris straightened up, proud of himself. Of course I do. Stop calling me sir. You're going to make me feel old. Just call me Joe or Joseph. Joseph or Joe is fine with me. He opened the door to his car with his remote key. You might as well put your briefcase in the back for now. It'll give you some more legroom. Oh, of course. That'll make more sense. Chris put his briefcase back in the back seat, then sat in the front seat of the car. My wife and I are really excited to see Maggie come home. She misses her terribly. Sure, she wants her to get her own apartment, but there's nothing like having your own family close to home. I agree, Chris responded as Joseph pulled out into the highway, heading towards the airport. To be continued. Dum 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 dum. Non-copyright music song. See you next time for Chapter 4 of Truth, Justice, and Mysterious Ways. As I'm sure you're asking, what the heck is so mysterious about this? See you next time. Bye. Where's that? Bye.